Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melissa will walk you through your packet, and then I'd like to do an introductory remark and then take any questions or comments, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. First in your packet, you've got what we refer to as the 3-column format. This is the same document, that gets published in the resolution along with the county's budget. So you've got funds 141, which is our general purpose school fund. You've got fund 143, which is our central cafeteria fund. You've got fund 144, which is the transportation fund. And then you've got fund 177, which is our capital projects fund. Okay, then your next document is the school system's budget document. So everything that's on this document, except this one actually has the preliminary federal projects fund included on it. Everything here would be the same thing that you would have in this 3-column format in the 2021-2022 column. Then you've got a general purpose school fund history, just a little history sheet we'll kind of talk about here in a little bit. And then you've got a copy of our May DEP estimate. We haven't received our June estimate yet.
Are pay raises factored into this?
Yes.
Yes.
What rate?
At what rate? There's not one specific rate. With our salary scales for the 21-22 school year, the board had tasked us with trying to reorganize all of those scales. They were kind of all over the places as far as with the amounts between the steps. You had some scales that might end, well, you had some scales that would go maybe from 10 to 15 years with no increase. You had some scales that would maybe end in 20 years. So they were just kind of all over the place. So we ended up trying to be consistent. We did do 30 steps on all of the scales. Some of the scales have just flat amounts between the steps, and then some scales have percentages. So there's not just one.
So you are implementing a new salary scale?
Yeah.
And the reason I asked is just on what says page 50 here, but and this one just kind of jumped out at me. Supervisor, director, and your support services attendance is going from 75 to 91. It's a pretty good pay raise. Well, I assume that's one individual because it's a supervisor, not
Yes,
supervisor.
and then that is based on the new scale, plus based on whatever degree or that person has.
I sort of have the same question. Special education supervisor, director, getting a $15,000–$16,000 pay raise. That's more than your salary, I think, director.
In that position, there's more than one person there.
Well, like Commissioner Speaks said, supervisor, director.
Right.
It's on page 52.
So there's an assistant director for special ed and then a director for special ed, and I believe both of those are factored into that.
So part,
There's a portion of the assistant director.
9/10 of that amount is for the director of special education, and 6/10 of that amount is for the assistant director. Part of their salaries are, well, actually the assistant director's, hers is, the other 4/10 is in federal funds.
So maybe it would help if we backed up just a second and did the lead-in. Our board asked us to clean up those salary schedules in efforts to see if we could creatively impact salaries across the board, because we, per the last run of salaries, we were dead last of Bristol, Kingsport, Sullivan, Johnson City, and Washington for a 30-year average, as noted in yesterday's paper. In Keith Brewer's report in 2019-20, we were 113th in the state for first-year teachers, 101st in the state for Bachelor of Arts or Science degrees, and 112th with master's degrees for teachers. Now, we're just talking teachers. If you factor in our certificated staff, our non-certified staff, we're even lower than that. Across the board. Our board wants us to be competitive, our board wants us to make a difference. If you look at what that does to us beyond the money, when we lose teachers, for example, in the 2019 school year, 20 of the teachers that left were level 4 or 5 on the teacher evaluation system. And that's not just based 100% on a principal's rating, that's based on test scores, surveys, how they do on their achievement or growth. And then likewise at the end of the 2018 year, the year prior, 32 of them resigned, 19 of those 32 were 4s or 5s.
Well, and
Those that leave go to higher paying districts, they never go to lesser paying districts.
well, I'm certainly not complaining. I'm probably biased because I'm married to a teacher who has had to work at Texas Roadhouse just to make ends meet after school. I just want to make sure that that we're not giving these huge raises to supervisors, directors, and then the teachers are getting.
So all pay scales were asked, and I get your question, but our board asked us to clean up all pay scales, and what we saw in the pay scales were we had steps from, let's say, year 11 to year 12, where it may have resulted in a $50 or $60 increase. Other steps had $500 or $600 increases between, so we wanted to equalize those so that our employees year to year saw and could depend upon a cost of living increase or adjustment to the tune of, on our certificated schedule, it's about 1 1/4. So when you hear huge increases, it's 1 1/4% is probably amongst our highest that we're looking at giving across our salary scales just by cleaning up the scales. Our non-certified folks, a lot of those pay scales ended at year 15. So we bumped them out to 30. And we looked at consistent steps in between. So this is not a raise aimed at one or more groups, it's across the board because it affects every single salary schedule. And I do get your question and concern. We were asked 3 things this year: recruit the best, figure out ways to recruit the best, retain the best, and to find creative ways to close the gap with those around us and other systems of like size. So even if you compared us to Greene County, per the study that I'll cite again, we're below all surrounding districts, including those that are most like us as far as socioeconomic income.
Even with this implementation of the new salary scale, does it put us, are we closer, or are we?
We're nowhere near the top. What we would bump up is probably one step on the, so we'd go from last to second to last. And that doesn't consider what other systems are doing. Greene County's shooting for 5%, Sullivan and upwards of that if you saw the latest article. So if you factor in that we're looking at a teacher increase of about 1 1/4% across the board, inclusive of our administrative staff, our assistant principals, and everybody else gets a cleanup of their salary scale, and that results in, on average, of 1.25 to 1.5%. Everybody's benefiting from this, and it moves us into a more competitive nature for retention and recruitment.
Do you have the figures of Carter County?
Not in front of me, but I can grab it. It was part of.
They're only a few hundred people different population than what we are.
Yeah.
And there's the ones you have left, the counties that you mentioned have a lot more population than Carter County.
We've got Granger, Hamlin, Greene, Greenville City, Sullivan, Bristol, Johnson City, Kingsport City, Washington, Rogersville City, all have teacher salaries. And again, this is the teacher side of things more than Hawkins County as of the study that was done in 2020.
I don't think most of those counties or cities that you mentioned, they're not like Hawkins County. We live in a rural county.
Green is like us. We're pretty consistent with
Yeah,
Green
they're
as
more
far as numbers.
populated than
Yeah.
they are though.
They are more populated, but they actually have a very similar socioeconomic standing, and that's what we look at, because we don't want to overshoot. First of all, we're not asking for taxes with this, so we were pretty creative in identifying a number of cuts, which I'll talk about here in a second, in order to offset hopefully some of what we're trying to do creatively. But secondly, we don't want to bring something to you that impacts our taxpayers, because we know we don't have a tax base, and we've got to do things creatively. We've done a number of cuts. For example, in 71000, which is our regular instruction program, we're going to realize a $1.7 million reduction in overall costs, even with the additions of the salary scales. So we don't bring you anything without weeding through what we can cut first. And again, our task was to look at the salary schedules, clean them up, be consistent from step to step, year to year for all positions, non-certified and certified, as well as making us more competitive within the system.
I would like to add to that too. When you're looking at hiring the best that we can get for the money we have to spend, our teachers don't leave Hawkins County and go to Carter County. They leave Hawkins County and go to Rockville City or Hamlin County or Sullivan
We're
County.
still comparing the two counties.
I agree. However, your teachers that leave us, when we get them trained and we get them, to the point where they're at level 4 or level 5, we have to compete with the counties that are around us, even though, when you compare Kingsport City and you compare Hawkins County as a municipality, obviously their tax structure is different and their population is different, but we still have to compete with them to keep the best. So I just want to throw that. I don't know that we've ever left. I don't know that we've ever lost anybody in Carter County that I know of. But when you're talking about hiring the best that we can get for our money, we have to look at the places where they go when they leave us.
And regardless, and whether you're a teacher in Hawkins County or a teacher in Carter County or a teacher in Greene County, you're going to be educating probably roughly the same number of students. So total population of the county just means that if they have more population, they're just going to hire more teachers. I mean,
Well, if they've got more population as Sullivan County or Hamlin County or City of Kingsport, they're with their tax rate that they come in with and the industry that they have for sales tax, they can pay more. We realize that, and that's where most teachers would prefer to go, is where they can make more money.
sure.
I know that. They're not gonna go to Carter County or Greene County, where the salary's gonna be. But I was on the education committee in 82 to 86, and I was on there with 3 school teachers. And, I told them, I said, if you don't have dedicated teachers and dedicated students that wanna learn, more money's not gonna change that. And it's not going to, in my opinion.
I think
I disagree. Sorry, I disagree simply because sometimes there's not an option. I mean, again, I'm biased here. No one
I'm
loves.
talking about dedicated. I'm not
No
talking
one
about
loves
people.
teaching these kids better than my husband. He absolutely loves his job, but it doesn't pay enough. It does not pay enough for him to do it, regardless of how much he loves it. He's dedicated and wants to see these students succeed, but he can make more money doing, working at McDonald's. So it's not a matter of dedication.
Well, we got the same problem at the sheriff's office. I mean, they lose people the same way, for the same reasons, for more money.
Interestingly, if we ran a study, of the teachers we bring in, and Jason can reaffirm this, we see between 6 and 8 year teachers move the most. That's the biggest group. And if you look at the amount of training we put into teachers coming out of school, coming into the classroom, their required professional development is some of the highest demanding within our system than it is within the region. And I can honestly say that coming from out of state, it's even quite a bit that we impose on our teachers and support them with. But the professional development gains those teachers quite a bit, to the point where they're one of the highest recruited classes, so to speak, once they get through the required PD that we put them through as new teachers, and then they're recruited. And the recruitment is largely incentive based. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you. If I had a choice between somebody with multiple degrees and all the experience in the world, I'm gonna hire somebody in opposition to that has the passion for the kids and that's here for the right reason. And we do so in our recruitment efforts, as evidenced by our last couple of administrative hires, I think, for our school sites. We put them through the ringer because I want to see not only their qualifications, but I want to see their desire to help kids and to be with kids each and every day. I don't want teachers that are signing up for initial pay and initial support and then walk away from us. I want to be able to look them in the eye and say, you're going to have one of the most challenging jobs here in Hawkins County, but it's also one of the most rewarding because of the student clientele you're working with. And I truly believe that, and I think that we've done a great job of recruiting people that have those inclinations and those character traits. Now, interestingly, about a week and a half ago, we were set to bring you a budget that was nearly flat funded from this year compared to last year. It roughly showed a $4.4 million deficit as compared to the year before, which was a 4.1, 4.3. And again, if you look at last year, our actual, we actually deficit about $500,000. We weren't even near $1 million. We weren't even near $4 million. But because of the maintenance of effort, projection criteria we have to use, it's ultra conservative. So when you see 5.9, I don't want to be here presenting a $5.9 million deficit to the commission or the budget committee, but those projections have to be ultra conservative. They overestimate our expenditures, they underestimate our revenues on purpose. And that is to avoid tax increases based on operating, just to operate and fund our education system. Second point is, if you look at what we did and what we pulled off, it's evidence that we identified cuts and came in here with a lot of cuts on the table because we value and we want to make sure that our employees feel valued in the process of working with Hawkins County. A lot of conversations on the budget aimed toward teachers. We specifically looked at all salary schedules. A lot of those, like I said, capped out at year 15. So a 30-year employee in a non-certified position knew that they weren't going to make anything else beyond year 15 unless the board took action and did something for all employees. That's not a good position to be in when you know that you like your job, you like your students, you're here for the right reasons, but your pay remains the same year after year after year when everything else is going up. You guys factor in the cost of gas and the factor of food increases this year alone, and that hurts all employees, that hurts our families, that hurts everybody. But when we're trying to say, hang with us, we're gonna keep you afloat, we're gonna make sure you're above the poverty line, that's hard for some of those positions. That's why we started with some of those first, even before our board even asked us to look at those salary schedules.
What about the